families. We are here celebrating National Mentoring Month, and I am so happy to have Hannah Mold with me from the Guilford County Family Justice Center. I'm going to allow her some time to introduce herself to you as we get started today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is happening with the Guilford County Family Justice Center as we partner with organizations throughout the Guilford County community. I want to talk a little bit about youth mental health awareness, and part of advocating for youth and their mental health is by having healthy outlets for them. So, Hannah, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. Thank you so much. So my name is Hannah Mold, and I work here at the Guilford County Family Justice Center. I am the Child Trauma Specialist Coordinator here on our team. So I am a licensed mental health professional, and I work with coordinating services and programs for children who come into the center, as well as our Camp Hope and Pathways program, which I'll talk a little bit more about.
Awesome. So glad to have you join us today. We certainly feel like there's a lot that you could offer our youth, as our programs and services normally happen between February through April. So it's really nice to start thinking about the summer, how we can keep our families engaged, and what we can have our young people do to continue to build their leadership skills. So I'll go ahead and let you move into your presentation, and when you're done, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So as you're listening here, if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer in the end, please leave them in the comments or in chat so that we can talk about it here during our live event. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Hannah.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. There we go. Can you see that? All right, there we go. All right, so I already introduced myself a little bit, but I just like to share that picture of me and my sister because a lot of people ask why I do the work that I do, and it's because family is really important to me. I believe that family is the cornerstone of life, and I think that the more we can invest in families being as healthy as they can be and as strong as they can be, the stronger and healthier our community is going to be. So that's why this work is really important to me, and providing services to our community to make sure that families are healthy is important. So one of the things, I'm going to give a little bit of background about the Family Justice Center and what we do, and why we feel like this center is really helpful in our community and necessary in our community. So we think about domestic violence. That's the main thing that we provide services for. So it's domestic violence, child abuse, sexual abuse, and elder abuse. And Guilford County, unfortunately, several years ago, was leading the state in domestic violence related homicides. So we had a lot of violence in our community, and people were losing their lives. And so a lot of our community leaders came together and said, what can we do about this? We really need to work together to provide services to victims and to their families so that this is not happening in our community. And as you can see from this chart, violence impacts a lot of things. It impacts our physical health. It impacts our mental health. It obviously can cause physical injury that can lead to long-term health concerns. It affects maternal and child health, and then can really lead to some risk behaviors and some things that can impact us throughout the rest of our life. So this is really a thing that impacts everybody in our community. It's not just about that one person that may experience violence. It really impacts their neighbors and their family and the children that go to school with them and everyone beyond that. So this is really a we problem, and we want to be part of the solution together as a community. So I want to define what abuse is, because I think a lot of times people hear the term domestic violence, and if they maybe don't know someone that's experienced that, it can seem like a difficult concept to understand. So when we talk about abuse or intimate partner violence, it's really a pattern of behavior. So it's not just once in a while having an argument or having a disagreement. It's a pattern, and it's rooted in power and control. So it's someone wanting to have power over someone else. And that could be physically, it could be verbally, it could be sexually, it could be with finances, with money. There's a lot of different ways that can show up. But again, it's that pattern over time. And it really can affect someone in that relationship over time and experiencing that abuse. A lot of times we see what is called the cycle of abuse. And so what that can look like is that tension kind of builds over time. Maybe there's kind of some picking at each other, some arguing that like builds and gets more loud or more violent over time. And then there's this one incident where, you know, some people say that the switch is flipped, where that person, that abuser, will just kind of flip on their partner, and maybe they will, you know, physically hurt them, or it's, you know, it's a violent incident that happens. Maybe police are called, that kind of thing. And then after that happens, there's this honeymoon period of the cycle where, you know, maybe that partner apologizes. I didn't mean to hurt you. They might buy flowers or buy you a gift to really try to make up for what they did. And things are okay for a while. Maybe they feel like their partner is going to change. And then, you know, you kind of cycle back into that tension building again. And so this cycle can happen really often, and is often one of the main reasons why someone may not leave an abusive relationship, because of that honeymoon period, and they feel like things might get better. And so, you know, when you love someone, you really want to see that person change. But the reality is that cycle ends up continuing, and can end up being more and more dangerous as time goes on. So a lot of people ask why someone doesn't reach out for help, and there's a lot of different reasons. Fear is a big one, being embarrassed about what they're going through, maybe feeling really isolated, that they don't have anybody to reach out to. A lot of times an abusive partner can use isolation as a way to have power over someone, preventing them from talking to their friends or their family. They may be kind of in denial about what's going on, and maybe they're hopeful that their partner will change. Or maybe they have a lack of resources, and it's hard to reach out because they're not sure they could find somewhere else to live, or maybe they don't have enough money to, you know, get their own place. And so that can be a barrier for people to reach out for help. So something that you can do if you know someone that's in an abusive relationship, or they have shared something with you about something that they're experiencing and they're not sure what to do, is number one, listen to them. That's the best thing that anybody can do, is say, I care about you. I believe you. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. That's the number one way you can let someone know that you're there to support them. You might also say, you know, I've noticed that you've really been kind of absent lately, or you haven't been yourself. You've been acting different. I'm really concerned about you. You may be noticing some red flags about, you know, things in their relationship or the way that they're acting, and you know something's not quite right. It's okay for you to say that to that person, to that friend or that family member, and just let them know that you're concerned about them. And then it's also a great thing to let that person know that it's okay to still care for their partner and not like what's happening in their relationship. That can be a difficult thing. You know, some people might feel like, well, they still love their partner, but they don't like the things that their partner is doing to them. And that's okay. I think it's important to make that distinction sometimes. And then the last thing that you can tell your friend is that there are people and resources that can help. That's kind of that next step. And maybe that's something you could do with your friend, is help them to call or help them to come to the Family Justice Center to seek help, and just know what their options are. So what is the Family Justice Center? The best comparison that we like to make is thinking of it like a shopping mall. So if you were to go to Friendly Center here in Greensboro, you could get a milkshake, a new pair of shoes, and you could go pet a puppy at the Friendly Pet store. And those are all from different stores and different places, but you can do that all in one place. And so when you think about the Family Justice Center, that's what we want people in the community to think of. It's a one-stop shop for any service and resource that you might need if you're experiencing violence and abuse. So it's a point of access, just like at the mall. You know, our staff is there to greet you, you know, our administrative assistant at the front desk, to get you checked in, to meet with you and figure out what's going on and how we can best connect you to the right resources and support to help. And so we provide services, we provide training in the community, we provide partnerships in the community with lots of different agencies, and we work together to problem solve and make sure that victims of domestic violence in our community are safe. We do not replace any existing programs. So we're not here to take over someone else's agency or organization. We're here to partner and work together on what organizations are already doing to provide services. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the partners that are here at the Family Justice Center. So here on site, we do have a location in Greensboro and in High Point, and we have professionals from law enforcement, so Greensboro Police and High Point Police. We also have sheriffs from the sheriff's office in both locations. We have adult victim advocates and child victim advocates from Family Service of the Piedmont. We also have mental health therapists, counselors from Family Service, as well as the Kellen Foundation. We have attorneys who work with children through the Children's Law Center. We also have attorneys that work with legal aid and with Elon Law. They have an emergency legal services program. We work with individuals from Department of Health and Human Services, so Child Protective Services and Adult Protective Services. And then we also work with the court system, so court services, the clerk of court, the judges, and folks that are over in the courthouse. We partner with them as well. And then here in Greensboro, we have a team from Cone Health there's a couple of nurses and a doctor, and they provide forensic medical exams for children that are part of investigations going on when there has been alleged abuse. So we have medical providers on site who can provide that as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of partners that are working together in our community here at our one-stop shop to provide a variety of services that someone might need. Whereas before we existed, you may have to go to 7 or 8 different places in order to get the things that you might need. Whereas now you can come to one place and meet with all of these people in the same room, one by one, to get what you might need. So some of the services that we provide at the Family Justice Center are safety planning and access to shelter. Our advocates are able to assist with those things. We provide support around advocacy for children, adults, and elders. So we help everybody, no matter what age they are and what is going on. I mentioned that I'm the child trauma specialist. We also have someone on our team that's an elder justice specialist. And so she works with a lot of different communities around financial fraud and elder abuse, different things like that. We also have criminal investigation and prosecution, so our law enforcement can help with that. Legal services, we're able to file emergency protective orders, medical care, emergency needs, emotional support through therapists, and then we also do community education and outreach. So we're here to really talk about children, and unfortunately, some of the statistics about how children experience domestic violence in the United States is that 1 in 15 children are exposed to domestic violence. So a large percentage of those kids are seeing that violence take place in their home. And so that's a large number of children that are witnessing domestic violence each year. And we know that 30 to 60% of perpetrators in the home are also abusing children. So that might be verbally abusing them or physically abusing them in some way. So this definitely has an impact on the entire family. And one of the things that I mentioned towards the beginning is the reason the Family Justice Center was opened is because of a lot of homicides happening due to domestic violence in our county. And we really wanted to change that. And so since we've been open, those have decreased dramatically. We are saving lives in our community, and that's really important. So some of these statistics can be kind of alarming, but it's really important to note that these services and these things that are existing are able to save lives in our community. 2020 was a bit of a unique year because of COVID. One of the things that we know is, COVID-19 was a trauma that we are all experiencing. And that has affected families in a lot of different ways. And one of those things for families that are experiencing abuse is that they were all stuck at home together. Whereas kids normally would go to school and kind of get a break from that at home and be around other people and in a different environment. Whereas we were all staying at home. And so some of those things were made a lot worse by COVID-19 and by that stay-at-home order, and has definitely increased the rates of domestic violence that we're seeing in our community. So one of the things that we know that research has shown is that family violence tends to be more traumatic than, say, a natural disaster or a car accident or some other type of traumatic event. And as you can imagine, the reason for this is that a family is supposed to be a safe place. That's supposed to be where people are taking care of you. And so as a child, that can be really traumatic to grow up in a home where there is violence going on. And we know that trauma impacts the brain in a lot of ways and can activate that survival response, that fight, flight, or freeze. So when something scary happens, our brain is automatically wired to react in order to protect us. So that might mean we fight off whatever's in our way that's threatening us, or maybe we run away. That's the way we keep ourselves safe, or we just totally freeze up and kind of shut down. So if trauma is happening over and over and over again in someone's life, then that your brain can become a little bit overreactive, and that alarm system is going off all the time. So a child that's sitting in school, they might be hyper aware of every sound and every smell and every person that's coming near them, because their brain is on hyper alert, making sure that they're safe all the time. So that can really look like ADHD in a child if they're not being able to pay attention at school and they're kind of hyperactive and very hyper aware of their surroundings. That can look like a child that has ADHD when it really may be they're experiencing trauma in their life. So some possible symptoms of trauma that might show up in children, a lot of times it shows up as a physical complaint. So frequent headaches or stomach aches is definitely something to pay attention to. Constantly worrying about their loved ones, other family members. They might show signs of depression. They might be really withdrawn, really quiet, seem like they're tired all the time. They might have difficulty paying attention. They might have a really short temper, so they might outburst towards others or start to show aggression towards others or themselves. They might refuse to follow the rules or have difficulty remembering the rules. They may start to show risky behavior, breaking the rules, or especially as kids get older, they might start to look for drugs or alcohol to kind of numb their feelings. They might kind of regress and start wetting the bed. And then again, that anger, that rage might show up for them, where things just feel out of control in their life. And so they're looking for some way to gain control, to feel like they have that safety and control. So as you can see from this picture too, this kind of shows how that body's alarm system works. So we have this traumatic event that happens, and it causes our body's alarm system to go off into that fight, flight, or freeze. And then that causes our body to release stress hormones, which are there to keep us safe. But if that happens over and over and over again, that can really have an impact on a child's body and on their brain. Because our bodies are not meant to, respond over and over like that. We're meant to have that traumatic event and then kind of calm back down and recover from it. So one of the things I mentioned that part of my job is to run our Camp Hope and Pathways program. And so this is a program for children specifically who have experienced domestic violence or abuse. And so the whole goal of this program is to provide a community for children who have had similar experiences, help them realize that they're not alone, and that there is a pathway to hope and to healing in their life. So Pathways is our year-round piece of the program. It happens throughout the year, about once a month. We get together in group settings and we have activities where the kids experience community with one another. They get to build their confidence, build their social skills, work on leadership skills, conflict management, healthy communication, and things like that, and experience that group mentoring with some of our volunteers. And then we also have a week of Camp Hope that takes place every summer. That is overnight camp, and we meet out at Camp Weaver, which is a YMCA camp here in Greensboro. And we have a great partnership with them. They are able to host us every year, and it's a blast. It's a really fun week, and it's transformative for the kids that participate. A lot of our families have said that what happens at camp is more powerful for their child than even a year of therapy. And it certainly does not replace therapy. We definitely recommend that if that one-on-one support is what a child needs. But Camp Hope is certainly transformative for kids who participate. Here in Guilford County, we were selected as the first site for Camp Hope America in North Carolina back in 2017. So this summer, upcoming 2021, will be our 5th year offering Camp Hope. And since our first year, we've taken 85 children to camp. And we're growing each year. With COVID, we've had to slow that down just a little bit, but we are always taking new nominations for children to join the program. It is an evidence-based curriculum, so it's hope-centered, healing-focused. We talk about hope heroes at camp, and we define hope as believing in yourself, believing in others, and believing in your dreams. So that's something we talk about often. The kids know that definition and they learn how to apply that in their lives, where they are, practicing that all the time. So a little bit more about why hope is so important to us is research has shown us that you can actually measure someone's level of hope. And what we know is that when someone has higher hope, they get better grades in school, they're able to recover from sickness faster, and they just have better outcomes in their life of achieving goals and achieving their dreams. And so when we look at hope, it's really not just wishful thinking. A lot of times people will say, oh, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow, when really that's kind of a wish. You're just wishing it doesn't rain tomorrow. But hope is more powerful than that. Hope is made up of willpower and way power. So you have a goal that you have in mind, and as long as you have the will to get there and a way to get there, a pathway to get there, you will likely achieve that goal if you are a high hope person. Now, what we know about kids and adults too is that if we are attempting to reach a goal and things get in our way and we start to get frustrated, or maybe something kind of blocks our pathway, or maybe we just don't have the willpower to achieve that goal, we start to get frustrated and we start to experience rage. So when you see a kid that's filled with rage, what we say is that that kid is losing hope. They're starting to lose some of that hope of achieving their goals and getting to where they want to be in life. And if that happens for long enough, sometimes that child might start to feel despair. They might feel like they want to give up and they don't want to work towards that goal anymore. And that at the very end of that, you start to feel hopeless. And so what we want to do is we want to intervene before we get to that point and really build a child's hope so that their belief in themselves is able to rise above that, rise above their circumstance, and help provide that pathway, whatever's blocking that pathway to achieving their goals. So I wanted to share just a quick story about one of the kids that has been in our program. This is Noah, and that picture is with his grandmother. He lives with his grandmother because his mother was killed as a result of domestic violence. Noah has been in our program since 2018, and that first picture in the water is from his first year at camp. And Noah told me just the other day that that first year at camp really changed his life. He was feeling really down, really depressed. He felt like he didn't really have any friends that understood what he was going through. But when he came to camp, he realized that he did have friends that understood what he was going through, and that he wasn't alone in that, and that he was able to not think about his experience, but rise above that and experience new things at camp and build his confidence in himself. And Noah's about to be 15 next month. We're super proud of him. He's a great student. He's got great support in his family and great support in his Camp Hope family. So we're really glad he's part of our program and that he has his own hope story now. So one of the things that's really important to us is being trauma informed. And really what that means is we're creating an environment that is safe for children to explore the feelings that they have, explore the experiences that they've had in the past, and to learn how to achieve their goals in the future, to really equip them and support them in whatever it is that they want to do. And so we help children feel safe and in control. At camp, we do what's called challenge by choice. So if there's an activity that feels really, really challenging or really scary for a child, we want to encourage them to participate to the point that they're comfortable, but they get to decide what that level is. And so that's that challenge by choice. We help them to feel safe and in control of that experience. We are kind and compassionate and strengths focused. So we focus on a child's potential and on their strengths. And we want to create a community that's hope-centered and healing focused. So here is information about how you can be involved, how to nominate a child. So normally children are nominated for our program by a partner of the Family Justice Center or by a parent or guardian. So your child must be age 7 to 11 to be nominated for the program. We do have older kids in the program, but right now we're only taking kids to enter the program when they're age 7 to 11. They must be safe and out of crisis for at least 3 months. They can't be acting out physically. It's really important that our program and our camp is a non-violent space. And so kids have to take that non-violence pledge when they join our program. And the child and the family must want to participate. So it can't be like court ordered or anything like that. We want our kids to want to be there. And then we do have opportunities to volunteer with the program. So we do take young people age 16 to 24 to apply to be volunteer Hope counselors. And those Hope counselors can volunteer for the week of Camp Hope in the cabins with our kids throughout the week. And then they can also volunteer with Pathways through our monthly programming to provide that group mentoring and build relationships with children, again, to provide that pathway to hope. So those are the different opportunities to be involved in different ways. And that's my contact information there, my email and my phone number. If you have questions specifically about either of these things, or even just questions about the program in general that we're not able to answer tonight, you're welcome to reach out to me that way. And then this is just our general information at the Family Justice Center. If you need support or you have a friend that needs support, please feel free to share our phone number. And then those are our two addresses, our location in High Point and our location in Greensboro. We are open for walk-ins. We're open from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. You don't need an appointment. You can come in anytime, and you can bring your children if you need to. We've got a safe waiting area with a playroom for kids if you need to bring them, and we're happy to help with whatever you need.
Thank you so much. I have definitely learned so much that I'm going to take along with me as I continue this work. And I know that families can already begin to take advantage of this opportunity right away, which is really nice since we are looking to recruit our families. This allows them to find the help that they need as they are waiting for us to pick up with our program in February, and for them to have a continuation of service throughout the year. So I'm really excited that we invited you on to talk a little bit more about the programs and services that you offer. You talked about the climb and balance, and in our community, this is definitely something that I'm passionate about. We've had the chief of police talk about how our youth are getting more and more involved in violence, which is something that I would like to advocate for us to find out how we can offer a place for our young people to be, so that we can see the numbers decrease in our community. And as you were talking, I've shared this story before, but I just want to reshare it for anyone who doesn't know my story, that I personally have dealt with youth violence in my own home. So whenever I was approached by a community member as a leader in the community to talk about what we should do about young people who are experiencing violence, I was talking about it as if it was a problem over there. And that, I did not even realize, when you talk about trauma and how it does impact your brain, I had suppressed some of the things that I experienced growing up. And as I started to sip on my coffee and have this conversation, I had to admit that I too had experienced some things in my own household that I was not ready to really deal with. So a lot of the behaviors that you talk about, I was pretty shy growing up. I didn't do a lot of talking because I didn't know how to process the things that I witnessed or saw happening. So I definitely feel that any child that can take advantage of this opportunity right now is really critical for us to begin to do this work in families. So I acknowledge that it's really difficult to break generational cycles. I acknowledge that it's really hard because, for one thing, we've developed habits in our household. Sometimes there's things that are happening and we may not have this insight into what the behaviors mean. So I really appreciate, Hannah, that you took the time for us to recognize the signs that there could be something going on. And I think it's better to get into prevention work. I promise you, preventative work is so much more easier than intervention. So when you see the signs, you don't really need to know everything as a parent to dig in and start to provide the resources for your child, because sometimes you may not know until later in life what that child is really dealing with. I know for me, there were things that I kept a secret from my parents well into my 30s, and I started to talk about it as I got older, and I really understood a little bit better how to handle my feelings or just deal with what it was that impacted me really throughout my entire life. So it didn't just stop in my childhood, it did impact me as I've gotten older. And it's actually a huge piece to why I do what I do. So I definitely just want to thank you for sharing all of the information, because I believe sometimes as we are going about our normal routine, being parents, being teachers, just interacting with children in general, we tend to overlook certain behaviors just because we're busy or a lot is going on in our own lives. So it's really important just to take the time and be a resource, which is why I love mentoring, because mentoring is really about taking the time to listen to our young people and also give them good guidance and advice so that they can carry on and not live a life in hopelessness, as you talked about earlier. Um, so I said I would do a little bit of question and answer, and I want to dig a little bit deeper into what you all have to offer through your Pathways to Hope program and your Camp Hope program. By the way, my husband and I used to work at Camp Weaver in our teenage years. It was actually our first job. So I love the component where you're bringing in the 16-year-old volunteer, because I had to be probably about 16 myself when I was a camp counselor working with the little children there. They were like 5 years old up to 12 years old. And I was a camp counselor at that time, and I did it in college as well. I love Camp Weaver. I don't want to date myself, but I was there definitely as Jamie came on board as the ED. He's a great person to work with as well. So
Yeah.
I'm loving the way that I get to be connected back with Camp Weaver by partnering with you all and sending some families, because I miss the horseback rides, the swimming every day, the archery, the lake, the blob,
Yes.
all of it. So it's a lot of fun. I played basketball every day while I was there, and then they built the skating board area as well. So there's just so much to do at Camp Weaver, and I think honestly, I think it's one of Greensboro's best kept secrets. You have to know where it is. It
It
is like
is.
middle of the woods. So to anyone who's listening in, I promise you, your child's going to have a ball. They're going to enjoy themselves at Camp Weaver. So just tell us a little bit more. I want to know what a typical day for the students who are participating in Camp Hope. Are they a part of the Y program as well, or are you all doing some specialized time with that group? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we partner with the staff there at Camp Weaver, but our program and our schedule and our curriculum is all separate. So that is something that we plan with our staff, and we kind of work with Camp Weaver to kind of work in some of their activities as well. But I'm there kind of to, running things and partnering with their staff. So a typical day, the kids get up in their cabins. We have breakfast, we meet at the flagpole, kind of have some mindfulness in the morning, get ready for the day. And then each cabin group has a different activity schedule. So they kind of rotate through. They get to do 3 different activities each day in the morning. So a lot of the things that you named, skateboarding, zip line, horseback riding, they do the
Now,
high
let me
ropes
not
course.
get zip lining. I'm a little jealous of that one.
Oh yeah. What about the giant swing? That's my personal favorite.
There was the ropes course. So is it a part of the ropes course?
It's attached to it. It's a separate tower from the ropes course, but it's over in that area. Yeah.
Great. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So they get to do those activities in the morning. And then after lunch, we typically do our small group curriculum time. And so that's unique to Camp Hope. We have the kids will read a hope story every day. So it's a true story about someone who's overcome a challenge in their life, some kind of adversity. And the kids get to reflect on some different questions about, what helps that person overcome, like what gave them hope in their life, who was there to support them. And then there's always a truth statement that goes with the story for each day. So this past summer, some of the truth statements were healing is a team sport. So we talked about how we don't heal, we heal together, we heal each other in community. And it's important to have other people in your life who can support you and help you on your journey. I am valuable was another truth statement. So kids learn that no matter what has happened in their life, they are valuable for who they are. And then one of the other ones was healing takes time. So it doesn't just happen the next day, you're totally fine, you jump back up and you're healed. Healing can take time and it's a journey, but there are beautiful things that happen along that journey. And so we talk about that story each day in that small group time with their cabin group. And then typically in the afternoon, we have swim time, the hottest part of the day. It's really time to get in the water. We typically do some kind of group game or activity after that before dinner. And then after dinner, we do our campfire each night. And so we talk about that truth statement again. And the kids get to share where they saw hope that day at camp. So maybe they saw hope in themselves and they were really scared to go down the zip line, but their cabin mates cheered them on and they felt brave enough to do it and they felt really proud of themselves. And so those are kind of the hope stories that they'll share from camp that day. And then after campfire, we sing the goodnight song, which is another thing that's unique to Camp Hope. It's just a song that like kind of calms everybody down. We kind of give thanks for the day and how much fun it was with our friends. And we remind ourselves that we're safe. And then the kids go off to bed with their counselors in the cabin, and we do it all again the next day.
Great. I love it. So I need some help to do the blob because I never did it out of the entire 4 or 5 years that I worked there. I was just afraid of the blob. I don't know why.
It is very fun. I can attest.
I can do a challenge, and if some of my Shield families will join, they can challenge me to come out and do it one day because it makes no sense. I know how to swim and everything, but something about jumping down on that thing just never worked for me.
It is a little scary, but once you do it, it is a blast.
It does look fun because the kids go flopping into the air and I'm sure it's the thrill of your life having that experience. And I'm all about overcoming anything that we are fearful of. So I definitely need to be a person of my own word and take and do that experience. So that is great. I love the program and what you have going on. I definitely want to send some families your way. I have heard that you all were able to do this safely during the coronavirus in the summertime. So just tell us a little bit about the measures that you have in place to keep our families safe if they want to join you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had a lot of conversations with Camp Weaver and their staff, and they were in conversation with, the YMCA of America and the American Camping Association, obviously watching the CDC guidelines very closely. And they were able to put a lot of protocols in place and train their staff to be able to offer camp safely this past summer in 2020. And so we felt like we trust that and we felt like we could do it safely in partnering with them. So what we did was we screened all the families before they came and made sure none of them had been sick or had symptoms within the week prior to camp. And then once the kids arrived, they were given like a tubie, a neck buff that goes around their neck that they could stretch up over their mouth and nose like a mask. But the great thing is that it stayed around their neck all week, so they didn't lose them. And so those were required if we were within 6 feet of each other or inside a building. But if we were outside, spread out, or swimming or eating, they didn't have to wear them. And then we also did temperature checks every morning. So when the kids got up, everybody's getting ready in their cabin. Before they would leave their cabin, the counselors would do a temperature check and log those every morning. And then some of the ways they did, like serving meals and things like that, everybody wore gloves and everything was sanitized, between activity groups. All the equipment was sanitized between groups. And the kids were able to stay within their cabin group. So we have about 6 or 7 kids in each cabin. And some of the large group activities that we would do, we modified those a little bit so that the groups would just stay in their small group rather than mingling with the large group. And then we did take a smaller number of campers. So in 2019, we took 60 kids to camp, but this past summer we took about 30 to 37 kids. So we did reduce our numbers by a lot to, again, ensure we could socially distance and keep everybody safe and healthy at camp.
Yeah, it makes sense. A lot of youth serving organizations and camps needed to do the reduced numbers over the summertime. So that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you were able to have everything safely. I know it's, been nerve-wracking trying to figure out the logistics and planning and organizing things. in this new day and age, but you all figured it out and you'll do round two in summer 2021, and we know that it will go well. Do you think you'll do the reduced numbers again, or do you think you'll be able to handle a larger amount of youth this go round?
I think we will. I don't think we'll get to 60. I think we will keep it a little bit lower, again, for that same reason. We will probably aim for about 8 cabin groups. So that would be about 48 kids. That'll kind of be our number that we are targeting for.
Okay. And your applications are open when?
They are open now. Families can nominate their child, and that my email address is the best way for them. I have just a form that they can fill out for that. So that would be the best way. Or I can send that to you, Precious, if you want to send that to any families that are interested.
Definitely. We want to go ahead and get in line. This is an excellent program and we want to take advantage of it. So you'll be hearing from some of our Shield families to get involved. And I'm super excited, though, that you talked about the opportunity for 16 and up to volunteer, because I have young people who go through our Shield Saturday Leadership Academy who definitely have leadership qualities and would do a great job volunteering with you. So is there a time when you start working with your volunteers? Should they try to go ahead and get connected with you now so that they can go through all of the training or whatever you have ahead for preparing for the summertime?
Yes, our volunteer applications are open now as well, and it's an online form, and so I can also share that link with you. And I would encourage them to apply as soon as possible, because we do have limited spots and they fill up quickly, especially our females. So I would say, any males that are interested, definitely apply. We're always looking for strong male leaders. That's something that we are definitely always looking for. I'll follow up once they apply, and we do an interview process. And if they're selected, then they would join us for volunteer training after that.
Okay, great. Awesome. Great to hear it. We will definitely connect a few of our young folks with you for that opportunity as well. And then, of course, the most important question that our parents might want to know is, how much will this cost, or are there sponsorship opportunities or anything like that that they could go ahead and take advantage of?
That is a great question. So just like all of the services at the Family Justice Center, our program does not cost anything for families to participate.
So free, guys. Free.
We are very thankful that our partnerships allow us, and a lot of community donors allow us to offer this program at no cost for our families.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate what you're doing. I know that being at Camp Weaver, that's not a cheap experience, by the way. To do it through the YMCA costs quite a bit. So any families who are listening, I would encourage you to go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity. You may have talked about if the Camp Hope is for a week or longer. Did you talk about the duration of the program? And maybe I missed that point.
Yeah, no, it is a week. It's technically 6 days, 5 nights. So it's a Sunday to a Friday.
Okay, great. Awesome. Great. Okay, so that's a little bit of information. I want to encourage anyone listening to please check out this opportunity. I think it's really important for us to give our young people the experiences that they need so that they can grow and develop and learn. I know that, it's tough sometimes as parents, because we see our children on a regular basis. So a lot of times we don't know really what's going on when we see the signs that Hannah talked about earlier. So I think it's really important for us to just take advantage of the opportunity. You have nothing to lose. Your child's going to have a great time. You get a week off and they're going to come back happy. They might do their chores for an entire week because you gave them a week away.
We have a lot of parents have said when their child comes back from camp, they're more helpful, they're more confident, they're more social, all those things.
Yeah, there are definitely bonuses whenever we put our children in these kind of programs. It's like all of a sudden you see this person like, oh, wow, well, what happened? It's just a different person. So I love these kind of opportunities. They're definitely outlets that our young people need, especially right now during the pandemic. You know, spending time with friends, that's hard to come by right now. In fact, for us within our organization, we're doing everything virtually, not because that is my preference, but because we just don't have the physical space, which is really nice to take advantage of Camp Weaver because it's acres of land, plenty of space, to spread out and do all the things that you want to do with young people. So I definitely want to advocate for this. And then I don't want to fail to mention Project Hope. That's available to you right now, correct? That's something that our families can take advantage of today and participate in on a rolling basis throughout the year.
The pathways, yes.
All right, right.
Yeah, that's an extension, continuation of what we do at camp, and we take nominations throughout the year.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect. And for that one, you're meeting in person as well, I'm imagining.
We are. Yep,
Okay.
in small groups. Masks are required, and we just do our health checks before they arrive. But yes, we are meeting in person. As a matter of fact, this past weekend we went ice skating in downtown Greensboro, so it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
I'm jealous. I need to get out of the house. I mean, I must admit that during the pandemic, I've sort of been at home a little too long. So I'm a little jealous hearing all of these activities that you all are doing. I might have to just show up.
We have fun, that's for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's great to know. It's great having you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our families?
I guess the only other thing that came to mind, I know you were talking about the importance of mentoring, and that's one of the main things, and I should have mentioned this before, but with trauma, especially children who've experienced trauma, research has shown that the number one way to help someone heal from trauma is a healthy relationship in their life. And so a mentor, a teacher, a counselor, a family member, having that relationship that is safe and supportive is the number one way that a child can heal from trauma they've experienced. So that's hugely important. And it's definitely, both of us are providing those things for children and for families. So
definitely. And I will say to that as well that it doesn't hurt to have the wraparound services. So that means that you could get services by our organization and by the Guilford Family Justice Center at the same time. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of every bit of resources that you have actually by that child getting involved in more activities and having the wraparound services everywhere that they go all day, every day, hopefully, then that child is set up even more so for success. So I definitely am happy to share this partnership and all of the wonderful activities happening in Guilford County that you can take advantage of. If you have not heard some of our previous videos throughout the National Mentoring Month, we're uplifting partnerships in the community every Tuesday that you may want to know about. So I do encourage you to check out our YouTube page or our Facebook page to get caught up on additional resources, and we'll be bringing more resources next week. So I hope to see you on next Tuesday, same time, 6 o'clock. See you there.